and welcome everybody to our latest installment of the Digital Drop podcast. We decided to get together today to talk about what we consider to be the top 5 must-haves of any membership portal. I'm joined by Ida and Rob, and we've had a bit of a brainstorm internally to decide on what our top 5 features that all membership portals should have are. And Ida, do you want to kick us off? What's the top one that we've decided upon?
Well, for me probably is membership management. So if you think about your membership department, and back in the days where people would make a lot of bookings through membership department on the phone or maybe via emails, it was all very manual and all was very slow. It was a very slow process. So with the latest member zones that we've been looking at and what we've been doing with a lot of our clients is really virtualizing this whole membership department. So it's literally where you as a member can log in and have all the details about yourself, what your interests are, what tier of membership you've got at the moment, and all sort of elements in terms of what you're trying to achieve through the member zone. So basically, the idea behind membership management functionality that I'm looking at is for members to be able to manage themselves virtually without the assistance of the organization, so to say, or respective people within membership department.
Okay, so if we were to liken it to anything, your profile management that you would have on a collaborative platform.
Exactly, interests. So if I'm into A, B, and C, so I'd like my member zone to have some sort of knowledge about me, so that all the elements that are sort of popping up on my profile are really of my interest. Yeah. Therefore, I will be proactively coming to this portal to see everything that I'm interested about and ignore things that really are not of my interest.
Yeah, and I think this the degree to which this is feasible is going to vary from organisation to organisation depending on their digital maturity. But in a more extreme case, you'd be able to manage your payment details, look at your invoicing, change your card details, etc. On a lesser example, it would be a case of managing your basic contact details and preferences wherever possible.
Exactly. And to add on that, what else is very useful is in organizations where you've got different levels of membership, for you to be able to upgrade or downgrade your level. Most of the times in the past, it used to be like you had to make a call or just send an email for them to change this, but it automatically changes. So if you go for an upgrade, it takes you to the next level. It automatically flags that you've got to pay a higher invoice or bill for the next year and so on. So it's more or less a full end-to-end management of your own membership, but online without really you having to pick up the phone and speak to the organization. For me, that's probably one non-negotiable that I'd say for any member zone nowadays.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I would say that's becoming the expectation, isn't it? If you sign up for anything, not even just a membership website, like an e-commerce website or something, you want to be able to go and edit your payment details easily and all that sort of stuff. So I think it was backed up by MemberWise, who had like 87% of sort of members who they surveyed said they expected like a high level of self-service from like a member zone. So I think that's got to be the number one. But like you say, it all depends on like digital maturity, like what access to data they've got available that they can pull into a member zone as well. So it's a bigger task than.
Yeah, and it one of my personal favourite things in an ideal scenario is selecting preferences and your interests through categorization, ideally taxonomy-driven categorization, and that's going to touch on to one of our other points where we talk about categorization of various content that's available to members, because I think that if you can integrate some sort of a taxonomical categorization feature for members to select their interest, that then enables a lot of other capability for you to achieve a lot of other beneficial features later through the user journey within the portal. But again, not everybody's at the same place. So what we recommend is a best endeavour approach here. Do what you can. If you haven't got full taxonomical categorisation, then try to focus through tagging of some sort. But allow members to tell you what's of interest to them, and in particular, so that you can later streamline their experience through your digital interface in a more targeted way.
I think that leads us on to the next point. My next must-have would have been some sort of personalisation, or
Right.
you know, the portal being able to understand exactly what you as a member is interested in. So like whether that's you've looked at certain pieces of content, and then the next time you go on being able to, you know, show you similar pieces of content that might be relevant to you. You know, I think that's probably really like a must-have for me in the next.
I'd say probably for personalization, from my perspective, another benefit is, let's say if I'm doing some courses, and a lot of times member zone are in some shape or form related or integrated with an LMS. So for me, when I log into the portal, to be able to see if there's, you know, a progress bar or something, it doesn't matter, but basically giving an indication on where I am within the whole curriculum, how far I am within a particular course. So basically just giving me a little bit more insight into all the activities that I'm doing at the moment as part of my membership. So I'd say probably that's another one that for me is...
Okay, so we've touched on two next points here, so we're already, it is diving into the third one before we've thrashed out the second one. But yeah, progress bars of whether it's training that you're doing, or whether it's different account levels that you're progressing through,
Okay.
wherever possible, visual illustration and progress bars to guide the member through the next part of their journey, not the digital journey, but their journey with your organisation and their journey as a member or a student in some cases. But yeah, to touch on the point that you raised, Rob, absolutely, it's a no-brainer. It's shocking how many organisations don't provide an appropriate level of personalisation. I mean,
well, we come across a lot that just don't even have the name in there, you know. So
yeah, and that's not even real personalisation. Yeah. That's just like a little bit of coding that takes in a username and embeds it into a welcome screen. But like with being a member of an organisation is like being a member of a club. Right, and I think wherever you can use analogies to liken a virtual or digital experience to a real life scenario, you'll usually come out with the right answers. So if I go into a club, whether that's my local gym or any club that I'm a member of, if they say hello to me and they recognise me, or they know particular, you know, even little things like if they know what I usually order after a training session or something like this, this absolutely makes me feel like a valued and recognised member. And I think the same approach needs to happen in all membership organisations. It's courtesy, it's recognition, it's appreciation, and it is what all users and humans expect in any sort of an ongoing relationship between a member and an organisation.
It adds value in a way, doesn't it? You know, it makes you feel like you say, like you're part of something, which is important because, you know, especially, you know, if you're paying a decent amount per month to be part of something, you want to make it feel like, you know, they know you, they understand what you're paying for and what you want from the service they're providing. So
I'd go even further on that one. I'd say rather than just adding value from a baseline, I'd say ignorance as to who your member is and a lack of recognition actually damages the user experience, makes them feel like just a number, makes them feel like just a transaction, and actually takes away from the experience and hurts their experience and journey with your organisation, rather than it just adding value. So
I feel like you've had some bad membership experiences.
I can tell you I've seen some bad membership membership journeys, certainly through all these years of working with membership organisation. But I think, like with majority of the things, common sense, what appears to be common sense, unfortunately, isn't as common as it should be. And there's no excuse to all membership organisations listening to this. There's no excuse for not giving your members the basic recognition of knowing who they are and what they want to see, and trying to tailor their journey through what can sometimes be very intimidating digital interfaces to non-technical users, to not customising them to the likes of that particular individual.
Yeah, and what we saw on that personalization point, for me, what's important is for the organization to recognize my journey. And I'll give an example of it. So there's a number of organizations out there that give students free membership, but then once they finish uni, they have to start paying. And a lot of drop-offs happen at that point when they finish uni. And this is where personalization needs to kick in. And also that first point that we raised, understanding who I am and knowing a lot more about me, so that transition doesn't just there's a smooth transition from me, organization knowing when I'm done with studies and slowly getting into the paid membership stage, rather than just not knowing where the user is. Communication just stops. They never sort of proactively come to you and pay for the membership. You just lose them most of the time at that point.
And that could be something as simple as like an automated email that goes out to them to say, like, well done on finishing your studies. You might want to look at this next level of membership now that you're, a really qualified person within that.
And
area.
Prompting you to update your data from time to time when these exams finish. And these are like simple things, but they really mean a lot in a bigger picture. So you don't lose any of your members along the way.
And a lot of these benefits, they benefit other benefits and enable other benefits. So in order to, a lot of organisations struggle with data silos and a lack of insight into who their members are, what their particular interests are. So by making a good interface and making it easy for your members to tell you about their own interest, it also provides an opportunity for you to learn, and based on what you're learning, and encouraging these members and users to actually tell you about themselves, by rewarding them through a more beneficial and seamless user journey, because they've taken the time to tell you a little bit about themselves. Which becomes invaluable business intelligence further down the line.
And to that point, just to add, what I think Facebook and LinkedIn have done a brilliant job there. From time to time, they'll just prompt you with things like, oh, do you want to update this? And like, I don't know, your place where you live at the moment, just very simple things. But doesn't look like a lengthy form you've got to sit down and fill in. It's like randomly popping up and trying to engage with you to get more details of you. And I think really that database, at the end of the day, of you having right information about your members is only bring you, enough, more information for you to create the right strategy for them.
Yeah, I mean, it all starts with the data, because there's no doubt there's people within membership organisations who want to do and achieve what we're saying here. Things like the email, like at a particular time and stuff like that, but they just don't have the data point or the systems to be able to go, right, this is how I access it. These are all the people that, are relevant for that message that we're trying to get out. They just don't have it available, do they? So.
And what's the most common phrase we hear when organisations come to us for help and trying to overcome a certain challenge? It's membership engagement, right? And how do you engage with members? And one of the challenges that we always try to overcome is actually, how do we measure membership engagement? Now, digital interactions, where you log every opportunity where a user has interacted with your organisation through a digital footprint, whether that's telling you about them, whether that's reading an article, whether that's subscribing to something, going to an event, whatever. By enabling all of these features through your membership organisation, you straight away, as a byproduct, get a set of very measurable KPIs that you can then focus on to further drive member engagement. Okay, so to go back to the point of progress bars, that's just effectively the same point, but taking it to the next level where you are visualizing and providing an illustration for a user to understand where they are and where they can go within not just a digital journey, but with an actual real life journey through progression of training or progression of membership levels and so on. And what we've noticed is that that's been for organizations that generate revenue through providing qualifications and training courses, that's been a great feature to further drive revenue and to provide prompts for the members at key times to actually encourage them to go and sign up to the next level, and giving them recognition for that so that they feel proud to have that on their profile.
Yeah, and go on.
Because I think even just like getting people to use the member zone, so like showing people like badges and stuff like that, or like, you know, some sort of like small award within the member zone if they do like their first post, or like if they download the first document or attend their first like course that's hosted within there. Something like that makes people understand that like that's what's achievable in the member zone. It makes them want to continue.
Are you talking about gamification here?
Yeah, I mean it's sort of interlinked, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You know, I think putting that within a member zone is definitely helpful as well when it comes to like getting engagement.
Exactly.
Is that one of our points, or did we just?
No, I just threw that, snuck that one in because
we were debating when we were coming up with the list on which ones to have, and gamification was one.
I wasn't going to let that one go.
That Rob really wanted in the top 5, but as when we
Geek
voted
inside.
on it, we said it's 6 at best. But yeah, no, that's all. Again, reinforcing the other points that were made.
Yeah, and to come back to these visual representations, I mean, it's just simple graphs that usually do the job. You don't have to think about, oh, we got to provide these complex designs, we need extra resource. It could be as simple as what I think it's Pure Gym on their app. They've got every single time when you go to the gym, they tell you, you know, all the days you visited the gym and how
average
long.
time.
Yeah, and those are like.
Sends you on a guilt trip for going off in the November.
But pretty much.
I deleted that app quite quick.
But pretty much these are like very simple ones, but very insightful when you realize, oh, I'm spending a lot of time on this member zone, and it's good sometimes to have it in front of you, so you kind of value it a little bit more as well.
Okay, so what's our 4th point that we've noted down in that list that we could see?
It's search.
Search, right, okay. Yes, search. So the reason why we wanted to add search as one of the most important features, look, most membership organisations, one of the key values that they provide is access to information, whether that's various publications, white papers, knowledge, but they usually have a vast amount of content that's incredibly useful to their members, but due to the vast amount of the content, it's very hard to connect the members with what they actually need and what's going to entice them and what's going to provide that value to them. So one of the, again, biggest challenges for various reasons that we come across is searchability of content, and the ability of members to find what they are looking for, and for that to be relevant to them in a very efficient way, where they won't get frustrated with trying to dig for some content, but will actually very quickly be taken to content of relevance and content that adds value to them. And this connects to the previous point where I made, where I'm a big fan of taxonomical categorizations and filters, whereby, you know, as content, because this provides benefits for the users that are adding and managing content within the organization, as well as the users that are accessing this content from the front end, because it allows you to effectively filter your searches through one or multiple categories, combine that with keywords, but also on a content management perspective, by adding any asset or any piece of content and making sure that it's associated with at least one category, but ideally more categories. It automatically plugs it into all the various navigational aspects of all of your websites and apps, whatever might be accessing that content. So yeah, search is, personally for me, I think probably the most critical one.
Yeah, I'd say non-negotiable in terms of any website where you have either a lot of content items in terms of a lot of content itself, but also for if you've got like an e-commerce shop, which is specific for members in that case as well. It just helps with user journey because you can't expect people to be able to find things, and as you have more and more content, it becomes just harder and harder to navigate sometimes.
I think it's something we're preaching a lot now, isn't it? Not just with the like member portals and stuff, but overall like good quality search. Because like how often do you go on a site and you search and you're just given a page with like pagination at the bottom and you're going through like 10, 20 pages just to find what you need. It's it's annoying. It's like it's actually not faster than.
Oh, it's more frustrating.
Yeah.
You know, the rule of thumb we always say is, look, you should be able to find what you're looking for with no more than 3 clicks, and that's not an easy thing to achieve, but it's absolutely feasible. I think rather than, you mentioned that it's a must-have, but what I'd like to enunciate here is that there's different degrees to which you can implement search. So just having it does not meet the requirement, right? Having it in a way that's user-friendly, that's usable, and that actually works with minimal effort from the user is what we are recommending. We're not recommending having search for the sake of having search. If you're going to do it right, but make sure that you do it.
Yeah, and one example was with one of our clients on their member zone. They've got a lot of documents, but also a lot of regular like news and articles related to them for the members really. And the search functionality, the way we thought would work the best is to have an ability for users to filter through the search. So when you go to search for certain things, when you get the initial search results, you could also say, oh, I want to search this particular phrase within documents only. And it's literally like the search would go through all the PDFs, you could say maybe exclude, I don't know, library or something. And that way they get to particular results faster and they already know pretty much what they're looking for. So I find that really useful.
I think as well, if like search is a massive thing for like your membership organisation, looking at real-time search would be a good one. So where you don't actually have to search and then reload the page to actually show you the results. You know, like basically something which when you start typing any particular word, you know, you get the drop down with all the, you know, most relevant queries already. So
what's a really positive, quite recent development that we've implemented in a number of cases is search tools that are independent of the technology that you are actually using. So traditionally, a limitation to good search has been a poor implementation of content management or distributed sources of content, lack of organization and coherent content structures within the organization. But now we've got technologies that you can point at various different sources that are going to create independent indexes of all of that content that we can then apply to the user journey. So we can create a good search using the right tools regardless of what your technological background looks like. And I'd say that's one of the more significant technological developments we've seen recently that's made a massive improvement. It allows you to ultimately bypass that technological debt and still not compromise the user journey simply because you're waiting to get the other things in order. Okay, so I think we're all in absolute agreement on search, right?
Yeah.
We like search. So on that note,
the last
could you
one.
Find what the fifth point on the agenda is?
Well, it's probably my favorite one. Collaboration between members.
Tricky one.
No, but it's so good because it's a bit of a like Facebook and LinkedIn activities coming on the member zones. So member zones are becoming a bit more of a hub where you're able to do everything. And in the past you would be able only to, you know, maybe fill a contact form to get back to the membership organization, and it was like there was no one-on-one collaboration between members. But lately there's this trend of digital communities which usually are part of member zones, where you literally have all bells and whistles like most social networks do, And where this is particularly useful is in organizations where members need to collaborate on a particular task. So let's say prosecutors would be working on a particular case, but in one country, but then would need an advice from another country, maybe because the case is related to different countries. So rather than Googling and trying to find prosecutors online, what you do is just go on Member Zone, and you're able to find a member of that particular organization who's specialist in who's a prosecutor and specialist in those cases, where you can just have literally one-on-one chats, messaging. You can also drop them an email and just have an open chat.
So connecting members, enabling collaboration amongst members directly, and ultimately building a community, because a membership organisation really should aim to be a community. Their members are a community. By having events run by certain organisations, you are inviting your community. And if what we've learned over the years is that if people feel like they're a member of a community rather than just a subscriber to a membership at an organisation, that has a massively positive impact on member retention, because if you cease to be a member, you're giving up your access to this great community of your peers that understand the work that you do and your interests better than anybody probably does in your personal life, rather than just saving on a subscription and a membership fee.
It's about the value and recognition, as you said.
I think it's like digitizing in many ways what they've already had. A lot of membership organisations, like especially pre-COVID, were doing like a lot of networking events and all that sort of stuff, where that is the value that they provide to their members, being able to connect them with everyone else in the sector, where they can get advice, help and that sort of stuff and things that they're working on. But it's taking that to the next level, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like allowing them to do that anywhere, anytime, any place sort of thing.
Yeah. So one interesting, why I said this is a bit of a tricky one is, let's just be very frank with it. A lot of organisations we've come across, I don't want to overstate the problem, but are quite fearful about allowing their members to voice their opinions, feelings, experiences, and make that visible to other members. And we do see this reasonably frequently, and I think it's organisations might be anxious about dissatisfaction amongst their members, and then feel that if certain members voice their dissatisfaction through forums and various collaborative tools that they might put in place, that's then going to bring out, encourage other members to voice their dissatisfaction. I think that this is a fear that actually, rather than fearing this is something that should be embraced. And
it's an opportunity to improve, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of the time, I think the fear comes from the people within the organisation not wanting certain things to be highlighted for political reasons within the organisation, rather than really thinking about the true value that their organisation is providing to their members. So if you're in an organisation where there is a fear of allowing your members to speak their opinions and to communicate with each other, then you've probably got some sort of a cultural problem within your organisation that needs to be addressed before you can truly start adding the best value that you can to your members. Would that be a fair thing to say?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. So let's summarise. Right, we've touched on the 5 points. So the top 5 must-haves for any membership portal are: number 1, profile/account management, the ability to set your own preferences and control your own details.
Self-servicing.
Self-servicing, okay. There's a variety of buzzwords we could use for each one of these. So self-servicing, number 1, self-servicing, which then, number 2, leads on to personalisation. Personalise the journey, recognise who your users are, give them the customer service that they deserve and the recognition that they expect. The third one,
Progress bars and visuals.
okay, so yeah, visuals and progress bars through whatever aspect of progression you're offering. And we've had the main two ones are membership levels and various qualifications and steps in fulfilling courses and so on. The fourth one
Search.
is search. Make everything searchable. Again, fundamental to the user experience, add value to your users. And the fifth and final one,
Collaboration.
I'm glad you can remember.
collaboration and building of community,
Exactly.
enablement of that community. And on that last point, I think it's also valuable to point out that ever since Web 2.0 technologies came out and social media became a prominent thing, it's been widely recognized that user-generated content on any website or platform is always more considered to be more valuable than content generated by that organization. So you can't understate the value that enabling your users to voice their own opinion, share their own knowledge, make their own statements is actually going to add to the entire knowledge base that your membership portal should be. Great.
I think that's a great summary.
Okay, right. Well, I hope that's been useful to anybody out there that's listening. We'd love to talk about this. We'd love to hear anybody's feedback. Feel free to argue with us if you think that there's anything more critical that hasn't made it into our top 5. And we'll happily respond.